Welcome back to the Keeping It Real with KC podcast. I, of course, am your host, KC Phoenix. And I'm trying to figure out, oh, that's my vision board behind me. I'm like, what is that behind me? All right, so, yeah, here we are. This morning has been interesting. You know how when you thought that you did everything, and then all of a sudden you find out, wait a second, oops. I had some stuff that I was handling bills wise, and I do a pretty good job keeping track of my bills because I keep track of them on an Excel spreadsheet. And I was going through, I was like, wait a second, I thought I paid that. And I was like, oops. So I had to pay. Luckily nothing was late. It's just that it threw me off because it's like, oh, all right. So yeah, that's why my mind's kind of, and I'm working on some other stuff too, which everyone will be hearing about hopefully in the near future. Before I go any further, KIRWKC.com, main podcasting platform. This podcast is carried on Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Overcast, Bullhorn, Amazon Music, Audible, and several other podcasting platforms. Please feel free to listen to this podcast on whatever platform is most convenient for you. KIRWKC on all the social media platforms. Okay, so I'm doing a daily thought today because I didn't want to do reading, like the daily reading, because I just, for those who don't know, who may not watch or listen to the podcast regularly, I did all of the money readings this past weekend. So yeah, those are up now. The general readings for July are up. The love readings for July are up. The money readings for July are up. Also, I did the full moon in Capricorn reading for the collective, which the full moon in Capricorn should be happening around July the 13th. I did that reading as well. And also it sounds like they're doing maintenance, and I had a feeling they were about to start that because I could hear them outside. So if you hear that, that's what that is. Anyways, as for the daily thought, I had a weird dream about someone that I know. And I don't know why I had this dream, but I guess it was more of finding the message in the dream than the dream about the person, if that makes sense. So I had this dream. This individual was upset. This individual came to me and other people. It was like a group of people. And this individual was on a magazine cover. And the individual was like, the magazine cover, the magazine didn't sell as well as they thought that it would. And they said they felt that their look was the reason why it didn't sell that well. They felt that they could have done something different or presented themselves in a different way on the magazine cover to make them more attractive. This is what happened in the dream. And that's pretty much kind of where it ended at, in a way where like they were just upset. They were a little bummed out that the magazine didn't sell as well, and they felt it was because of how they looked. And I've talked about ego, I've talked about self-esteem, I've talked about all of that stuff many times on my podcast. But one thing I haven't really talked about is body positivity. I haven't really went into that, believe it or not. After like 1,000 and something episodes, I haven't went into body positivity. And they're like right near my window, but whatever. So, one thing I will say is that being positive about your body is a good thing as long as you are healthy. And that's where you have to consult your physician. Because I did tell the story where I had gained weight and I weighed almost 200 pounds. And my mother had seen me and she's like, oh, you know, you have meat on your bones. It's like, oh, you look healthier, da 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 da. Because you know how mothers are. If you're thin, it's like it's a crime against humanity. So yeah, but my doctor was like, you could lose a few pounds. And then also with my labs that she had did, she's like, we got to change some stuff on here. You know, I miss my doctor so much at UCLA. Best doctor I ever had. But that's another story for another day. Anyways, what someone views you as is in the health wise doesn't necessarily mean you're healthy, and vice versa. If someone says, oh, you don't look healthy, they're not your doctor. They don't know. And even there could be a second opinion type thing as well with doctors, because not all doctors know. Just because a doctor is a doctor doesn't mean they know everything. They don't. I'm saying all of this to say, first of all, be happy with you. Now, if you want to get cosmetic surgery and all of that other stuff, I'm not knocking you. There are people out there who want to get the lips filled, who want to get the, you know, the Botox injections and dye their hair. I haven't dyed my hair. My hair, on my longtime listeners know this. On my dad's side of the family, we gray early. My dad had almost a full head of gray hair at the age of 40. So we gray early. Me, it's not that deep. I did dye my hair once, but that was to go with the look that I was doing back in the day, because I had spiked hair. I grew my hair out and I spiked it, and I wanted it jet black because that's the look that I was going for. But now I wouldn't dye my hair jet black just because I have gray hair. It's whatever. I don't care. You know, so it's all about you doing what makes you happy. Now, please keep in mind, if you're doing all of this stuff to change your aesthetic, where it's like, oh, I don't think my lips are full enough. Oh, I don't, you know, my cheekbones look sunken in, and I want them to look a little bit more full and a little bit more plump. Or, oh, my chest isn't big enough. Or, oh, you know, my derriere isn't big enough. Or this or that. Or, oh, my abs aren't sculpted. Or whatever it is. Just keep in mind that after you do all of this stuff, you still may not be happy. Because you may not have learned to appreciate you. You can do everything that you can do cosmetically, but if you don't appreciate you, what did you really do it for? Do you see what I'm saying? It's all about appreciating you. There are things called genetics, or there's this thing called genetics. Some people have certain features. In other cases, you know, like groups of people have certain features. It's kind of funny. There was a falling out with the Real Housewives because Lisa Rinna of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills was talking about the Real Housewives of Dubai. And then Ian from Real Housewives of Dubai had sent out a tweet saying, Lisa, Africa called and they want their lips back. Talking, which is about a group of people, because obviously people of African descent usually have fuller lips. They come naturally. They're just like my lips. I remember somebody asked me if my lips were fake one time. Whatever. But, you know, this is natural usually for people who have African background. It is what it is. Not saying that other people from other races can't have that. And, you know, quiet as it's kept, where like a feature like the lips are found, is usually because they've mixed in with the African race. And then those genetics have, you know, went on down the line and so on and so forth. But we're not going to go into that right now. The point is, that regardless of what your genetics are, yes, you can go to the gym, do this, do that. Just learn to appreciate that you are you. If you have brown eyes, appreciate that you have brown eyes. If you want to go get the contacts and get the blue eyes, go for it. Go with God. Nobody's stopping you. If you have long hair that grows easily and is silky and beautiful and everything else, more power to you. If you have hair that's a little bit more kinky, but it can lock and make some beautiful dreadlocks and do this and do that, be happy. More power to you. Whatever you want to do with your body, you have free will. You can do it. Just remember that if you didn't learn to appreciate your body before you did what you did, then I don't see you finding happiness. I don't see that happening. I see you being caught up in the ever ongoing cycle of beauty and perfection. And again, I've mentioned this before on my podcast. Beauty is subjective. It is. There are people who will look at someone and say, I don't know why people think she is attractive. And then there's another group of people that will look at someone and be like, oh my goodness, she is gorgeous. And the same thing with the man. I know people who think Henry Cavill, Superman, is not that attractive and is overrated when it comes to looks. And then I know people who are like, oh my gosh, Henry Cavill is so sexy. Same thing. You know, I know people who think Taye Diggs is amazing, which he is. And then there are other people who think Taye Diggs, he's aight. So, beauty is subjective. What catches one person's eye may not catch the other person's eye. And for those of you, going back to body positivity, where you're not happy with yourself and your look. And again, there's nothing wrong with changing your look. I want to make that clear. There's nothing wrong with going to the gym. There's nothing wrong with being healthy. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm saying that when you do these things, make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Don't do it because you believe someone might find you more desirable. Don't do it for that reason. Do it because you're like, oh, I want to do it. You know what? I want blue eyes. Don't do it because, oh, well, people seem to be into other people with blue eyes. No. Do it because you think blue eyes are good and blue eyes will look good on you. Just like when I did my spiked hair. I did it because I wanted to do it. I didn't care what anybody else thought. I was like, you know what? I think spiked hair would look good on me. Let me go ahead and give that a try. And then I went to this girl. Her name was, called her Sojo. I think her name was Sojourner. Over at JCPenney Salon. And when I tell you she hooked it up, she hooked it up. Because I grew my hair long enough. And then we were able to get the perm. And then she got the spikes going and everything else. Dyed it jet black. And everyone loved it. It looked amazing on me. But the thing was, I still, before I got my hair spiked and everything else, I was still, I don't want to say proud, but let's say I still loved who I was. I still love my body. I still love my look in everything about me and stuff. It's just I did it because I was like, oh, I think that'll look good on me. So going back to what I was talking about, if it's one of those things where you're like, oh, I think full lips would look good on me, and you're doing it for you, go with God. But if you're doing it because, oh, I need to get full lips because I don't feel I'm receiving enough attention and the guys or the girls aren't into me that much. And if I get full lips, maybe that'll make me more attractive to them. Don't do it for that reason. Learn how to appreciate you. Because you are the only person that has to live with you. And if you are making changes in your life to your body, physical changes, just to gain the approval and attention of other people, you will more than likely be doing it for the rest of your life. You have to be positive about the skin that you are in. Body positivity. And that is my daily thought. KIRWKC.com, main podcasting platform. This podcast is carried on Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Overcast, Bullhorn, Amazon Music, Audible, and several other podcasting platforms. Please feel free to listen to this podcast on whatever platform is most convenient for you. KIRWKC on all the social media platforms. Until next time, be blessed.